British Prime Minister Theresa May resigns, paving way for Brexit confrontation with the EU. Nigeria's gas reserves rise by 3.7%. Investors show strong preference for federal government's 30-year bond. Federal government loses 4.6 trillion naira to import waivers in 2 years, plus 16 commercial banks fail to remit 1.6 billion naira to federal government. Details of these and more on this edition of Business Express on the network service of the NTA. I am Moplang Dakok. Minister of the United Kingdom, Theresa May, will in the coming days step down after she failed for a third time to get a Brexit deal passed through Parliament. Making the announcement from Downing Street, May said her last days as Prime Minister and Conservative Party leader will be June 7. The pound initially jumped on the move that had been widely reported, rising to a session high of $1.2725 before falling back to $1.2674, but still up 0.2% on the day. There are predictions that say sterling volatility is going to rise from here. More than 4.5 trillion naira was lost by the federal government to the waivers that were granted to importers in 2017 and last year. The loss was incurred through the Finance Ministry due to non-implementation of the Import Duty Exemption Certificate IDEC project. To stop the trend, the ministry approached the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission (ICRC) for assistance. A statement from the ministry indicates that the ICRC issued a full business case certificate of compliance to curtail further revenue losses. Nigeria's gas reserves have increased by 7.3% from 187 trillion cubic feet to 200.79 trillion cubic feet. The Director of Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, Mordecai Ladan, who disclosed this, noted that Nigeria is considered as a gas-producing nation because of its potential unproven gas reserves, which is more than her crude oil reserves. He said Nigeria's daily gas production stood at 1.2 billion standard cubic feet, adding that 41% of the oil production is imported and 48% goes to domestic market. The recent commitment by the federal government to establish an entrepreneurship development bank for the funding of sustainable businesses in Nigeria is being complemented through various programs for its success with special focus on youth empowerment. It is in this regard that Young Entrepreneurs Business Startups was launched in Abuja, and Bosede Abel will tell us more.
This is just the beginning for Ngozi Roland, who is into the business for making natural spices for cooking. She is using a stone to kill two birds as one of the 15 entrepreneurs who was fortunate to be empowered by Conversation for Change, a non-governmental organization. She is also opportuned to be among the 5 chosen to exhibit and sell their products at this event.
wake-up call for me, because me being a believer of your what you eat, I felt there was something in our diet or something in our food or something we're doing wrong in our lifestyle that could have led to the increase of such sickness and diseases in our country.
The task of selecting and training of these young Nigerians for 12 months made it worth the while. This launch showcased their products ranging from fish farming, natural spices for cooking, makeup services, harnessing waste to wealth, among other ventures.
We have begun the job of recreating Nigeria. There's no greater way to do that than to pick up these young people, empower them so much. And what we teach them in 1 year is social entrepreneurship.
Indeed, an opportunity for the upcoming entrepreneurs to realize their dreams and to be self-reliant.
If you can train 15 persons in their businesses, in a very short time, we'll take care of unemployment in Nigeria.
This initiative is empowering young people who are genuinely interested in building their own business with the capacity to succeed.
And talking commodities, Brent crude futures were at $68.05 per barrel from their last close. Let's look at the price of oil and other commodities. It's less than a week to the official end of the first tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, and today we shall be taking a look at how the oil industry has fared so far. We might not exhaust it all, but we will try to do the much that we can. I have in the studio the National Chairman of Host Communities Producing Oil and Gas, Dr. Mike Emu. It's good to have you on Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the non-oil sector has recorded great achievements in the last few years. But despite that, the oil sector, or oil, still remains the highest source of revenue for the nation. How would you rate the performance of the oil and gas sector in the last 4 years?
Basically, as the national chairman of the host committee of Nigeria Producing Oil and Gas, I believe that the oil and gas industry have so much contributed to the economy of this country, despite the fact that Mr. President, our beloved President of Nigeria, so much based his mind on the diversification from oil and gas to agriculture. Oil and gas will remain on top in terms of the economy of this country. Oil and gas will produce over 90% of the economy.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the upstream and the downstream of the oil sector. So which of the two would you say have performed better?
The downstream, it is an indebatable fact that the downstream remain the best, because the common man see whatever the oil companies does, and in the upstream nobody go to the high sea, so we don't know what transpired over there. Okay. At the downstream you discover that the oil company, for instance, in Delta State, where you have an oil company in Emo-Obiedu, between Kwale, the people the company reside in that place, develop the place, put up infrastructures, give them light and so forth. So that is the development that you can see at the downstream sector. But at the upstream sector, they go in with helicopter, come back with helicopter. Okay. Nobody knows whatever happened over there.
So talking about these activities, you talked about how the people have seen what is happening in the oil sector. Would you tell us more about how this has affected the people of the host communities?
Basically, if you look at the performance of the IOC and the NOC in the past 4 years now, there is a relative peace in the Niger Delta region. The host community have been able to come out to manage the crises that were at hand in the Niger Delta region. I think that the oil company needs to come closer. They need to obey the instruction of the federal government based on the Nigeria Local Content Act, that when you operate in a place, you stays in the place and develop the place. So the oil company need to go back to the host community, think about infrastructure, think about medical facilities and energy and so forth and so on to the host community. I think that within 4 years now, let me use 3 years now, there has been a lot of peace in the Niger Delta region because of the effort of the host community and the oil companies who are now changing their mind because of the present good governance that we're having in this country. Everybody should tread with care and carefulness. So everybody wants to do what is right. Presently.
You talked about the need for more to be done by these companies, but do you think that the introduction of the local content has helped to empower people in the Niger Delta, especially the youths?
I think, you see, one of the policy that Nigeria has ever made or law is the establishment of the Local Content Act. And I visited the directors and staff of the Local Content office, Yenegua, Bayelsa State, and we rub minds together. We see that they are really out to develop the youth of the Niger Delta area in terms of skill acquisition, empowerment, and so forth and so on. It's a welcome idea that today we're having Nigeria Local Content Act operating.
Okay, let's talk about the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill. What do you make of it?
The Petroleum Governance Bill, yes, the PIGB, should not be my major worry and concern. Okay. My major worry and concern and the host community of the Niger Delta, yes, is the neglected executive bill that was sent by the late President Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, who sent the PIB bill in favor of the host community to the National Assembly. And for the past 14 years now, that bill have not been implemented. I think issue of the PIGB is about the governor, but what concerns the host community has not. There is no law made in this country that is in favor of the host community. And I thought that for the past 12, 14 years now, that the National Assembly, they will make sure that I thought that they will pass the bill in favor of the host community. So the PIGB is there, and is to guide the company and guide the government of the country, but nothing to guide the host communities of Nigeria.
Okay, so the Niger Delta region has witnessed a reduction in activities of vandals or vandalism in that region. Would you say this is attributed, or this can be attributed to policies of this administration or of government? No,
it is not issue of policy.
Okay.
It's an issue of the Niger Delta leaders taking their destiny to their hands. We discovered that pipeline vandalization, illegal refinery, these were detrimental and were destroying the ecosystem. And we decided to call our children to order. Presidency gave us assurance of employing 10,000 youth. We recruited these 10,000 youth from the creeks on pipeline surveillance, and we trained them in the NYC camp, Iseluku and Poraikos here and there. So 10,000 youth have been drawn to be security agents, security officers who carry out information to the JTF, the police, the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, and so forth and so on, as informant. Not only just being informant, there's what we tag to be intelligence security, not carrying a weapon. We train our children on the issue of intelligence security, guide over these oil facilities, don't destroy them anymore.
Okay.
And they listen to the host community, and as a result, there's relative peace. The European Union came into the scene, European Union working with the host community, NNPs with the host community, presidency supported the host community, and there was a ceasefire dialogue that was that our people entered with the government, and that has worked for over 20 months now, and that has stopped issue of pipeline vandalization and illegal refinery oil thefts and so forth and so on.
You talked about 20,000 or 10,000 youths. That's quite a large number.
Of course.
Yes, so how are these youths doing?
What really happened is that the idle man is a devil's workshop, so goes the philosophy. What really happened was that we have over 120 accredited universities in Nigeria, producing over 40,000 graduates, 41,000 graduates every year, and 10,000 cannot be employed because of the destruction of all the industries in this country for the past 16 years ago. And the recruitment of these children is to give them salaries, watch over each community, produce 10 boys or girls, boys and girls, signed, recommended by the traditional ruler, and then watch over by the host community, train and empower, and with the promise of giving them employment by the NNPC awarding pipeline surveillance to these communities, not just to some individuals as it were in the past years.
Okay.
And so this has paid off. And as a result, we're having relative peace for the past 20 months now, because of the effort of the host community discussing with the children.
Okay, let's talk about the initiatives or the policies of this administration. What are those initiatives of this administration that you think have played out well, or has helped in developing the oil sector?
First and foremost, I must commend the effort of Mr. President.
Okay.
I see him to be a God-sent president of this country. He's a man that is well disciplined. Whether Nigerians like it or not, we know that this man is well disciplined. He's a man that hates corruption. And so his policy of fighting corruption, I want to appreciate EFCC and so forth and so on. People may say that they are partial. No, I think the government have really come out to promote discipline, to fight against indiscipline and corruption. And so the policy of the government, I think that good, meaningful Nigerians should rub mind with Mr. President to make sure that in the next 4 years that he put in the best more than what they have done so far.
Okay, so what would you recommend, or what would you suggest to be done for the Niger Delta or for the oil sector in Nigeria as a whole?
The oil sector should go back to the Niger Delta area, establish industry, create more employment, empowerment to the people, and the federal government also should make sure that what belongs to the host community, to the Niger Delta region, that they make haste to implement with immediate alacrity those policy, those promises, 4-point agenda to the host community, issue of pipeline, surveillance contract, issue of 30% reservation template to the host community, issue of modular refinery licenses to the host community, issues of gas flare penalty levy money to be paid to the host community. If federal government really act now by releasing 1 or 2 of these items to the host community, I tell you, the Niger Delta region will be the best region every Nigeria will want to live in, stay and develop. So federal government should do something about the Niger Delta region through the host community, not through political party, not through policy and so forth, but direct with the host community, with the oil and gas.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that's where we'll end this conversation for today. We've been speaking with Dr. Mike Emu. He is the National Chairman of Host Communities of Nigeria Oil and Gas. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, viewers.
So moving on, dollar at 2-year high, safe havens up on stormy global economy. How is the Naira exchanging for other international currencies? The federal government has raised concerns over recent rejection of Nigeria maize by foreign and local firms over cases of aflatoxin and standard. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development Audu Ogbe says government will embark on what he described as aggressive sensitization of farmers on how to prevent and manage their maize before and after harvest. There is the fear that Nigeria may be losing millions of dollars if international commodity markets continue to reject her produce. Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and other donor agencies are to support Nigeria deal with cases of aflatoxin in maize and groundnuts.
Aflatoxin is a major contaminant for green groundnuts and in maize. And what I've also observed is that it's very difficult for the farmers to see. It's not, they cannot see the aflatoxin, so they need to be taught the process of how to detect it, how to guide against it, and also to inculcate the culture of quality into them and ensure that they apply the AflaSafe correctly. As we speak, the Honorable Minister has approved the distribution of AflaSafe to farmers and also high-level sensitization so that they are aware of the implication of not applying aflatoxin and AflaSafe in their plants, especially as we enter the planting season now.
Trading on the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed the week ended 24th May 2019 on a negative note. The NSE All Share Index closed at 30,881.29 basis points, depreciating by 1.89%. Investors exchanged 294 million shares in 4,352 deals valued at 6.628 billion naira. Market capitalization stood at 13.601 trillion naira. Guarantee Trust Bank, UBA, and Access Bank were the most traded stocks. World stocks edged higher on Friday and oil prices bounced after comments by President Donald Trump encouraged hopes of progress in US-China trade talks, while British Prime Minister Theresa May's resignation briefly sent sterling fluctuating widely. Let's join Bosede Abel with an update.
The pound made marginal gains on 24th May following Prime Minister Theresa May's announcement that she would resign on 7th June. Though the currency was up less than 0.1% against the euro to 1.13, the gains will likely be enough to see the pound end its longest ever losing streak against the euro. On the stock market, European stocks were higher on despite trade war fears continuing to put global stocks under pressure. DAX, CAC 40 and FTSE topped gains in early trading. In the United States, stocks were higher as market participants continue to monitor the trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. Dow futures rose 87 points, indicating a positive open of more than 64 points. S&P and Nasdaq were both higher as well. Asian market traded mixed as worries over the tensions between the United States and China weighed on investors' sentiment. Shanghai Composite closed flat. Hang Seng Index added 0.4% in late afternoon trade, while Nikkei fell 0.16% to 21,117.22. Stocks in Africa opened mixed. Nairobi All Share was flat. Namibia Overall Index was negative, while South Africa's GSE Top 40, Ghana's GSE and Tunisia's Tunidex were positive.
And this is where we wrap up this edition of Business Express. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube. You can send your feedback and comments to businessexpress@nta.gov.ng, and you can also reach us via Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. Business Express returns Monday, same time and same station. I am Muplang Dakok saying keep thinking and doing business.